When I was a kid, my dad used to take my brother and I to these card shows where he'd buy sports cards and he'd give my brother and I a couple bucks to spend on whatever cards we wanted to buy or random shenanigans. And there were a lot of random shenanigans. From Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh cards to Garbage Pail Kids to wrestling figures to boys to movies and video games. They had it all. You would see a lot of weird stuff at these card shows, and I always kind of assumed that Glover was a weird game because I bought it from such a weird place. But despite how weird it is, I love Glover so much. Glover, for those of you who may not know, is an N64 game where you play as a wizard's glove trying to save both the wizard and his castle after an explosion from a potion gone wrong. Honestly, the wizard's being a little bit dramatic because this is a really small explosion that just knocks him down, and I guess he's got some weak ass floorboards because he just goes crashing straight through them. As the wizard crashes through the floor, both of his gloves fly off. One flies out the window and that one is you, Glover. The other one falls directly into the potion, which is your brother Cross-Stitch, who's changed by the potion, making him evil. These crystals then begin falling off the castle, and Glover saves them from shattering by turning them into rubber balls, and without these crystals the castle area turns into a wasteland, so then Glover has to go through each of these 6 different areas to retrieve these balls and bring them back to the castle. The gameplay of Glover is very unique. It plays a lot like all the other 3D platformers of the time, but what sets it apart from those 3D platformers is the fact that you have this ball that you have to get to the end of every level. Without the ball, Glover plays pretty smoothly like every other 3D platform of the time, with your same typical moves: jumping, double jumping, a ground pound, and a cartwheel move that really you only use once. But once you grab the ball, the gameplay completely changes because now you can dribble this ball like a basketball, you can throw it, you can slap it, you can twist it, pull it, bop it. Just kidding, this ain't no bop it, but you can balance on top of it and do a ground pound move to get extra height when jumping. But in addition to these moves, you can also change the type of ball. There's the standard rubber ball, which has rubber properties and it's super bouncy. There's the bowling ball, which weighs more and you can use its weight to break down walls, and it also sinks in water. Then there's the ball bearing, which also sinks in water. It's more lightweight, but it has magnetic properties. And then there's the ball's original form, the crystal, which isn't super useful, and it's very, very fragile. No, why would you do that? Honestly, I think it's hilarious how fragile it is, but it actually does serve a purpose because you could use it to get extra points when grabbing Garib cards, which I don't think really matters unless you wanted to brag to your one friend that also plays Glover that you have a high score in a certain level. The goal of every level is to get to the end of the level and touch this crown of light thing with the ball, and I like how the game actually forces you to bring the ball throughout the level with you, because without the ball you move like really smoothly throughout the level, but once you pick the ball up it just becomes like more loose and like bouncy and awkward, which sounds like a bad thing, but it just adds more challenge to the game. And there are certain parts of the level where you need to bring the ball with you to trigger a ball specific switch, which will open up a new part of the level. I remember as a kid I used to leave the ball at the beginning of the level because not only is moving with the ball harder, but the ball's health is your health. So if the ball gets damaged or if it falls off the stage, you lose a life and you respawn through one of these portals. Ball is life. Unless of course you played the PS1 port of this game like some pussy ass bitch. I played a lot of this game as a kid and I really admired the character. I mean, like, look at how cute he is. He's got a tear in his glove that's like his mouth, and he's also got some big old eyes. I really like his idle animations where he waves at the camera or he'll lay down and like kick his feet kind of like in a finger tapping motion, like he's tapping his fingers on a table. But with the ball he'll lay on his back and kick it with his feet, or he'll spin it on his finger like a basketball player. But I also love that when you approach a ledge he'll just sit down on it. But as much as I love this game, I have to admit that I never really beat it as a kid. I only got through the first 3 areas completely and most of the horror themed area. But I want to take you on a little journey throughout this game and its 6 worlds and just tell you why I love it so much, starting off with our first world, Atlantis. Usually when you play platformer games, there's certain level themes you expect to see in every game, like the water level or the fire level, but you don't really ever usually see Atlantis themed levels, and I kind of love that this game has that. The first level is pretty straightforward start to finish, which is great because it gives you plenty of room to figure out the controls. The second level gets a little bit more complex as now you have to change the ball to do certain things in the level, like break down this wall over here to drain this pool of water into this other pool of water over here to power this elevator. This level introduces my favorite repeat enemy, these wind-up toy guys, which they don't really do anything other than get in the way, but I really like their design. In this level, we also get introduced to one of many potion power-ups, this one being strength, which you use to help push this wall to get to the end of the level. And I don't know why, as a kid, I found this to be really, really cool, and it Probably was just because maybe this was one of the first platformer games I ever played, but I'm not sure. Moving on to level 3, we get introduced to another potion, the speed potion, which helps us get across this water current so we can get to this ball button, which will power a wheel for us to get to the second half of this level. But the thing I really like about this level is that at the end of the level, there isn't this like light crown thing like the previous levels before, but instead you go inside this metal whale airship thing that's just really weird, random, and strange, and I love it. I remember describing this specifically to my friends at elementary school lunch like it was the coolest thing. But anyway, the airship leads you to the boss of the area, which is a strange arrangement of creatures. It's just like the developers were like, oh, let's make this boss of the area a whale. No way, let's put a crab on top of that whale. No way, even better, let's put a fish on top of that crab on top of that whale. Anyway, so you start throwing bowling balls at this strange arrangement of creatures until the whale dies, and then the fish starts flying and blowing bubbles like a sissy ass bitch, while the crab starts throwing claws ready to fight. But you know what they say, bowling ball beats crab, and these fucking hands beat fish. After you beat this boss, you can bring the ball back to the overworld and bring it back to the castle. Also on that note, for the longest time, I didn't realize this was the wizard right here frozen in time. I thought it was like a weird statue of a face with water coming out of its ears, but it's actually the wizard with water coming out of his sleeves. Anyway, so we go to the carnival area next, or the pirate area, depending on how you want to play the game, but I'm going to go to the carnival area next because it feels right. The carnival area is another non-typical platformer level theme, and I absolutely love it. It's just so strange and weird. The first level starts off strong with some wild music and some fun characters. Starting off with this balloon elephant that just wants to hold on to your ball for you as he follows you around, but you kind of lead him into a spike trap. Then there's this juggling chicken who just wants to hop on your ball, as he tries to make for a more entertaining act as he balances on your ball, and juggles his balls. Hold on, pause. Then we have some more wind-up toy guys, but these ones are circus-themed, and they want to play a little game of whack-a-mole with you. There's also a trampoline, a slide, and a random-ass giant ice cream cone. But the real fun of this level is right at the end, because there's a little carnival area with a bunch of carnival games, and you have to play each one of these games to finish the level. Starting off with a Plinko game, where you have to turn the ball into a ball bearing and pick it up with a magnet to play the game and try to get the ball down the right path with the arrows. Then as we move towards the other carnival games, we run across this ball sack guy that you can ride. Ayo. Pause. Once we're done riding this ball sack guy, we go up to the slot machine game, which I absolutely love because you can get multiple different things out of it. You can get Garib cards, a strength potion for the high striker game, you can get a giant hostile bee, a potion to turn that bee into a frog, and also this ball sack guy, which is really interesting because after you turn him into a frog, you can still ride him. Then we finish up and climb on this rocket over here to blast off, kind of like how I'm sure this ball sack guy over here is going to blast off when he nuts. Moving on to level 2. Level 2 is a great example of why Glover feels so strange and weird, because level 2 has a bunch of open air in the level, exposing the low render distance, and it just feels so strange as you're moving around the level and platforms are coming in and out of render distance. Oh shit, I think I might have seen Herobrine in the crisp year of 1999. Anyway, so this level has a cute little roller coaster at the beginning of the level and a couple of portals throughout it. This level does also introduce a new potion that lets you fly, so you can fly towards this platform over here with this aggressive ass bee who's conveniently next to a frog potion. Level 3 starts off strong with the return of ball sack guy over here, and I don't know if this guy has any use in either level to be honest, but I sure do love bouncing on him. I think this level is a perfect example of how frustrating this game can get, because there's this part with these moving platforms that you have to move across that's very easy to f*** it up and lose a lot of lives, and then once you get past that without hitting a checkpoint, you have to move across this maze-like thing of a platform that tilts with your weight, so you have to be very, very careful on it. Now this would be an excellent time to bring up the cheats in the game, because without the cheats, this game will be very frustrating, namely the unlimited lives cheat, because I'd rather not start a whole level over because I had a few small mistakes, losing all my lives during one part of the level. But there are plenty of other cheats in this game, from fun ones to useful ones like a death spell one, or one that allows you to summon the ball directly to you no matter where you are in the level, maybe perhaps the end of the level. A cheat that allows you to become the ball, or a fisheye lens cheat, because why the hell not? A bigger Glover cheat, a bigger ball cheat, or maybe even perhaps an enemy ball cheat. A cheat that allows you to become a frog, or a Mad Garibs cheat that turns the Garibs into these silly little guys that honestly, I don't know if this is a reference to something, but I'm sure somebody will let me know. But I think the cheat I remember the most outside the infinite lives cheat is the low gravity one, because this one paired with the ball summon allows you to climb the castle in the overworld, which you better believe I did. But what I love the most about the cheats is that in order to enter the cheats, you have to pause the game and enter them with the C buttons, and each individual C button does a unique sound from farting, burping, hiccuping to a bird scream. And the most interesting part is the fact that in order to get these combinations for the cheat codes, there's this deranged bird in the overworld on a swing that's just burping, farting, and hiccuping. And if you listen closely, it's giving you combinations for cheats. But anyway, back to the circus area, we meet the boss of the area, who's this creepy looking clown dude who we have to hit these targets around him in order to defeat him while he spins the floor around. The last target that you have to hit isn't very straightforward, as it's this red light thing, but after you hit it, a piano falls on him, ending his shenanigans, so he can bring the ball back to the overworld and return it to the castle and move on to the piratey area, which the piratey area has an absolute bop of a piratey song. I really like the vibe of the beginning of the first level, where you have this sunken ship on one part of the level, and then next to it a lone island surrounded by water with one wooden platform on it. Then after you hit this underwater ball switch, the island turns into a geyser that blasts the wooden platform up into the sky to lead you to the second half of the level, which is really cool because it has this sword enemy dude that you can grab a hold of and use as a weapon. The wind-up toy enemies are also in these levels as well, but I don't really like their design as much in these piratey areas. Hit them with the sword. There's also these cannonball enemies that are an absolute menace. Level 2 takes a weird twist, as it's a treetop level with these swinging swords for you to avoid, but level 3 returns to the piratey vibes, and it even introduces a new potion for you to use that lets you walk up walls. Pretty cool. The boss of this area is a giant ape that's swinging from a tree ready to get knocked down. That is, of course, if you can get past his goons, who are invincible, which always trips me up on repeat playthroughs when I play this game, because I could have swore when I was a kid that you were able to kill these monkey goons, but you can't. After this monkey behavior, we return our new ball to the castle, and after we return this new ball, the overworld starts noticeably looking better again. Like at the beginning of the game, it's a complete wasteland, but now it's starting to return back to normal, and there's like grass everywhere. So this is about as far as I got to in this game as a kid. I did venture off a little bit into the next area, the Fortress of Fear, but I never completed that area. But going back as an adult, I can kind of see why I didn't finish that area. This area is pretty challenging if you don't have all of Glover's moves down, which I know for damn sure I didn't as a kid. It's just very challenging, and they really make you use all of Glover's moves. Also, they add a lightning effect to these levels, which is on theme because they're spooky levels, but god damn, these lightning effects are powerful. I hope you don't have epilepsy, because these are damn near flashbangs. And we're not talking about flashbangs like being slapped in the face by a napkin at a little kid's birthday party. We're talking about flashbangs that are like a big bald black dude named fucking Marqueef pulling a bedsheet over your head and proceeding to scope. But anyway, there's a new potion that turns your ball into a giant beach ball, so you can use it on bigger switches, like this one next to this Frankenstein wind-up toy guy. Look at him, so cute, so adorable, unlike the fucking pirate-themed one over here. There's also this ghost dude over here that can turn your ball into a mutant ball that kind of looks like a Katamari. Okay, let's just move on and ignore this ghost with our lonely rolling star over here. I kind of both love and hate this Dynamite guy's inclusion, because he's a complete menace, but I just love the fact that he's here. Basically, he just sits there and he does an explosion that's so powerful it nukes the area, and the only way to avoid it is to lay flat down on the ground. I also love this mummy dude that's only here to defend the end of level 2. I feel like the end of level 3 is a true test if you've mastered all of Glover's moves, because it might not look it, but this area is very hard. Just, it's very slippery, and there's like some BS in there, like some more Dynamite guys and these menace cannonball guys. But I'll take this level any day over what comes right after it, this Frankenstein boss over here. I love this game a lot, but fuck this Frankenstein boss. He's the worst. Let's move on to the prehistoric areas. The prehistoric levels start with a snow level, which is pretty cool because not only do I love snow levels, but as you move the ball around the level, it becomes a snowball. But if you want to return it back to the normal ball, you just give it a little dribble. There's also this dinosaur with a mighty roar for such a little guy. Look at him, so cute. But the second level has an even better dinosaur that I love so much because this dinosaur loves me, Mom. She loves Glover so much, in fact, that she screams like a fangirl, picks up her purse, and runs at you full speed to tackle you. With her love, of course. Although I didn't play these prehistoric areas as a kid, I kind of get this sense of nostalgia playing them, and I think it's mostly because these prehistoric areas, specifically the second and third level, remind me a lot of the prehistoric areas in Diddy Kong Racing, and I vibe with it. But the wind-up toy guys in this prehistoric area are booty. Maybe I was a little bit harsh on the pirate ones. The boss of this area is stupid easy, kind of like the PS1 port of this game. You just throw the ball down the hill and you just let it happen. But anyway, moving on to the space levels. I love how this first level is very open and it gives you room to maneuver around to learn how the ball kind of like controls in low gravity. Then there's this dude over here that just grabs your ball and turns it into a crystal and just fucking launches it, so watch out for him. But hey, look at how cool the wind-up toy guys look in this area. I think this design might be my favorite. This level also has a giant UFO that you could break into, and inside this UFO, it's being piloted by a smaller UFO, and I absolutely love that. You know, it would be crazy if inside the little UFO, there was another smaller UFO. Man, that'd be crazy. Level 2 is an interesting twist on a level because it's kind of like a time trial level, because there's a switch at the beginning of the level that opens up a door at the end, but it's on a timer, so you have to quickly move through the level to try to get to the end of it before the door closes, and it's really just a nice change of pace. Level 3 is kind of like a robot factory level, and I don't really have a whole lot to say about this level as a whole, but I do like this guy over here that just likes to throw hands, and Glover's a hand, so... The boss of this area, and the final boss if you will, is a giant robot that you have to climb into and then use that robot to fire balls at another robot being controlled by Cross Stitch. Honestly, this fight's pretty easy, but I like the robot design. After this boss fight, you return to the castle with the final ball that you use to save the wizard and the castle, and then the wizard uses Glover to cast a spell on Cross Stitch, returning him to normal. I love how as the credits roll, the camera goes around the castle to show off all the scenery that's returned to normal, but then it stops at the bird and just pans around the bird as the credits finish. I also love this dude here that did like one line of code. But that's pretty much it for Glover, but I want to end this video with a couple of facts that I learned from both the documentary of Glover that I got with the limited run edition of this game, which I did an unboxing video of, and a comment that I got on that video that I found particularly interesting. I'll start with the comment, which is from Humane Shadows 300, shout out if you're watching, but the main theme song of Glover is actually sampled off a song called The Champs by the Mohawks, and I think that's really cool, and I'm not going to play that song for you in this video because of copyright, but you can definitely check it out after this video. But moving on to the documentary stuff, originally Glover was going to be a mini golf game, and they wanted you to follow the ball around as like a standalone character, and originally it was going to be a severed hand, but they decided to change it to a glove so the game could be more kid friendly. But the most interesting thing about the documentary is that one point in time Glover could have been a Mario game. It was going to be Mario's glove. See, at the time Nintendo, if you wanted to put your game on the N64, you had to run it through Nintendo, and if they really liked your game, they would publish it for you and promote it, and they did like Glover, but they wanted some changes to be made before they put the Nintendo brand on it. Specifically, they wanted Glover to have 5 fingers instead of 4, because they feared that if they had a 4-fingered character associated with Nintendo, it would allude to the Yakuza, because in order to become a part of the Yakuza, you gotta chop off a finger. But the developers just didn't want to make that change because they thought it would make the character too awkward. But anyway, thank you so much for watching my video. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe for more content like this, and if you also played Glover and you love it, let me know what you love about it in the comment section down below, or maybe some more fun facts that you might have about Glover. But anyway, bye bye.